Hey, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm giving an honest review of the Canon 5D Mark IV. I'll be talking about the technical specifications of this camera body, as well as all the creative uses of it, and just how I've used it in my business, and just what I think of the camera body and all those things. So if you're a photographer who's looking into buying this camera body, stick around till the end of this video to learn all there is to know about this camera body. My name is Jennifer Cook, and this channel is a place where we like to share our knowledge about cameras, business, photography, all those things with other business owners, with other photographers. That's what you'll be seeing on this channel. And today's video is a technical review on a camera body that I love to use. So we're gonna get right into this video. Number one is, what is the weight of the Canon 5D Mark IV? So just the body of the camera is 28.22 ounces, which I guess is, maybe that's like a pound and a half, like 16 ounces. It's closer to 2 pounds, but definitely like when I hold it, so there's a lens on it right now, but it definitely feels pretty heavy. Now I could take the lens off, but I don't feel like doing that right now. This is a pretty, it's not like super heavy, but it definitely could make your hand hurt sometimes if you're holding it a lot. Now the weight of this camera, including the battery, the SD card, and the CFast card, is actually gonna be 31.39 ounces. So definitely getting up to 2 pounds, where like 32 ounces would be 2 pounds. So it's definitely just the camera body with the things in it, definitely 2 pounds. And then if you put a lens on it, it's definitely gonna start getting heavier. I still don't think it's too heavy of a camera body though. I think that there are lighter camera bodies like the Canon R6 Mark II, which I'm making a review video of that one as well, and that'll be linked up here. I think it's still fine, like the weight of it, but there definitely are lighter camera bodies that exist now in the world to use. And one of the reasons that this camera body is heavier is because it does have a physical shutter in it. It's not like a mirrorless camera body, which is all digital now. It still has all the mechanical moving parts of the shutter, so that does contribute to the weight being more. Number two, we're gonna go through all the tech specs of this camera body that I've learned over the years and found out about. So how many megapixels does this camera body have? It has 30.4 megapixels, and it's a full frame CMOS sensor. That's something I've loved about this camera body. I've loved that it does have a high megapixel count, which means that when you're taking images and when you go to print them, they're gonna be like really, really high quality, and I do really love that about this camera body. The ISO range of the Canon 5D Mark IV is 100 to 32,000, but it does have an expandable range up to 50 to 102,400. That's pretty cool if you think about it. It's pretty, really cool that it has that expandable ISO capability as well. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the recording capabilities video-wise for this camera body. So it can do 4K motion JPEG video, although I've really never done this before. So basically I've learned that this camera body cannot do 4K video 60 frames per second. It doesn't have that capability, which is kind of a pain, but the Canon R6 Mark II does have that capability, which I think is really cool. This camera body is best at filming in full HD, either at 60 frames per second, or it can do like, you know, the common 29.97, whatever it is, and then also the 23.98 frames per second. It can do that in full HD. Now, another thing it has superb dual pixel CMOS autofocus for responsible and smooth autofocus during video or live video shooting. So that kind of just means that the autofocus is really, really good. And I've always thought that it's been really, really good as well. I love that the Canon 5D Mark IV has an LCD monitor that is fully touchscreen. That just makes changing your camera settings like so much easier. Like, I just love that about this camera body. It's so helpful, especially when you're taking photos, you want to change settings real quick. I actually like always use a touchscreen for taking photos and video production, all those things. It makes it so easy, and I just love it. This camera body has excellent performance when it comes to its continuous shooting speed. It can shoot up to 7 frames per second. However, I normally just do 6 frames per second, like when I'm doing photography, but sometimes I even do as like low as 3 frames per second, so just like 3 photos in a second if that's all I need. But again, you can go up to 6 or 7 basically, which is really, really cool that it has that capability. The camera has 61 autofocus points with expandable vertical coverage with 41 cross points, and autofocus possible at all 61 autofocus points with many lens plus extender combinations, effective at f/8, which is aperture of 8. I think that's just saying that the autofocus, it has like 61 points of autofocus, like, you know, within the screen or within how it focuses, and so it has a lot of different focus points to get a lot of different parts of the image in focus that you want to. Although you still have to set your camera settings right to get the focus and everything you want. You can't skip that step. I'm going to be honest that a lot of these tech specs I'm just going through right now are super technical. Like, I'll be honest in that I don't fully understand all these tech specs, but I looked them up and I'm reading them for you and just trying to give you as much information as I can. Pretty soon we'll get into reason 3, which goes into the uses for photo and video of this camera body. But there's a few more points I want to cover that are like tech specs. You can survive with me through it. So the next one is it has 150,000 pixel RGB IR metering sensor, which helps provide precise exposure metering, helps to detect flickering lights, and allows for enhanced scene recognition and face detection capabilities. So it uses the RGB color space. I think that's what it got out of it. And it also has really good like metering capabilities, which again helps exposure and things like that. I also wanted to quickly say that this camera body has a lens mount. It's an EF lens mount. So that's really important. So you need to get EF lenses for this camera body. Now, if you'd like to see a full rundown of the full tech specs for the Canon 5D Mark IV, then you can go find the video that I'm going to make up here that's going to talk about like all the tech specs for this camera body, like all inclusive, just everything. It's gonna be an intense video to get through. But if you're interested in that, when it comes out, it'll be linked up there. Number 3 is what are the uses of the Canon 5D Mark IV? So this camera body can be used for both photo and video. However, you can't record over 30 minutes on this camera body when you're like filming. That's just something that cut off that like it will stop filming at like 29.97 minutes or something, you know. It'll stop filming at 30 minutes and you can't record it anymore, which is kind of a bummer. Canon did this, I believe, because they didn't want, like this camera body was meant to be a photography camera body, not really, it wasn't really meant for like video production as much, and so they didn't want their photography bodies to become video production bodies. I'm gonna be honest, I also use it for video production and it works just fine. You just can't record over 30 minutes, and so you just have to know like what it can do, what it can't, and then you just have to, you know, figure out a way to use it accordingly in the situations that you can use it for. Number 4 is versatility. So how versatile is this camera body? I really think that it has a lot of versatility. I really think it's amazing, and I've been using it for both photography and videography for a while, and I've really never had an issue with it, how many different things I can use it for. So versatility wise, it's great. Number 5 is reliability. How reliable is the Canon 5D Mark IV? I trust this thing so much. The only thing I probably watch out for is when it's getting up in years and the shutter count is getting high, just making sure that the shutter doesn't suddenly die on you and you can't take any more photos. I haven't gotten there quite yet, but I've never, like in my years of using it, it's always been very reliable and just a wonderful camera body. There's really no glitches to this camera body to the one I currently have. There's nothing that I've experienced that has been like really like bad, you know, so I recommend it. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope it's been super valuable and helpful for you today, learning all these fun things about the Canon 5D Mark IV. I just wanted to take a quick second and ask you to like this video if you've liked the contents of this video and if you want to see more videos like it. Again, on this channel, we make videos for photographers and business owners, you know, looking to grow their business, and I'm just honestly sharing my experiences with the things I've used as well as all the different business things I've used over the years. So please like this video if you want to see more, and also subscribe to this channel if you also want to see more. And if you want to be notified, you can hit the bell button. That way you can be the first to know about a new video coming out. So again, thank you so much for your support, and I know you want to get back into learning about all this fun stuff about this camera body, so we'll get right back to it. Number 6 is what are the pros and cons of the Canon 5D Mark IV? One of the cons is that it only has one SD card slot and one CF card slot, which I really prefer camera bodies have 2 SD card slots because SD cards are cheaper than CF cards. So that's one con of it. And then another con is that it only records for up to 30 minutes for video. But again, you just have to learn ways around that, or you just have to stop it, and you just can't continuously record over 30 minutes. And it's really not a big deal, but you just have to know and be aware of it. And the biggest pro of the Canon 5D Mark IV is that for me, it's just been super reliable for all the years I've been using it. It's come with me to a lot of sessions and weddings, and I've just loved how amazing of a camera body it's been. Number 7 is what is the cost of the Canon 5D Mark IV? So I looked it up, and on Canon it's currently selling for $2,299, which isn't bad. And then on Amazon you can actually get it used, like refurbished or renewed, for $1,764. I would actually recommend going that route because I just, to be honest, like there are better camera bodies out there that you could probably pay. Like now there's camera bodies like the Canon R6 Mark II on Canon. It's currently on sale for like $1,999. So why would you pay more money for a camera that is older when you could just get like the nicer one for like $200 more? So, but again, on Amazon, it's new for $2,299. There are other places you get it. I bet you get it on KH Camera, B&H Photo and Video. You could also rent it through Lens Rentals. You could probably, when you rent things through Lens Rentals, which I have discount code for Lens Rentals, down there. You can go grab it if you want it. When you rent things through Instant Rentals, sometimes you have the option of purchasing it from them like afterwards. So it's another potential place you get it. You might be able to buy it used from someone. But yeah, the cost, I'd say the cost for this camera body is probably gonna be anywhere between $1,700 to, I guess, $2,300, depending on where you find it. So do your research and find what you want to buy. Number 8 is how I bought this camera body. So this is super fun, and I'm actually gonna make a video on this whole story of how I bought this camera body because it's a super fun story, and when I make that video, it's going to be linked above. So I actually bought this camera body about, oh gosh, how long? Well, how long I've had this camera body is the next question, so we'll wait for that. But I bought it using the Amazon interest-free payment plan. So basically, I signed it for an Amazon Visa card when I was in college. You could go on a 12 to 18-month payment plan. So you purchase the camera body, and you can start using it, and then you just make payments every month. And again, it's interest-free because I was just in a place where I wasn't gonna pay interest on anything. I've just, personal decision is I get a loan, not getting a loan with interest unless I buy a house someday. When I buy a house someday, interest, you can't get around interest. But for things like camera equipment, there are ways to buy it without having to pay interest on it. Amazon interest-free payment plan is a great option to, be able to use that. So that's why, you could get like a renewed or refurbished camera body of this Canon 5D Mark IV. That's actually what I did. I'm pretty sure I got like a renewed version of this camera body when I bought it and then went on that payment plan. I'm pretty sure I paid it off like in less than 12 months, like from the money I was getting from my photography business. So it was definitely a worthwhile investment, and I'm so glad I did it because, in college, I came out of college with a camera body, and it was just a blessing that I was able to have that because I then could use it for my business and grow it over the years, which was really cool. Number 9 is how long I've had this camera body. So, okay, I need to think for a second because I feel like I've had it for like 5 years, but it may actually only be 4 years. Yes, okay, so I believe I purchased this camera body in the fall of 2020, so that'd be 4 years ago because now it's the fall of 2024. I did buy it with the Amazon free interest payment plan in the fall of 2020, and man, it was an amazing upgrade. It was so awesome, and I got it, and the quality of my images just changed, and it was the best. Okay, number 10 is image quality and performance. Okay, again, so amazing image quality and amazing performance. I really like that megapixel count of 30.4 because, you take the images and then you edit them. Also, quick tip, always take your images in RAW. You're gonna get the best image quality, and you're gonna be able to edit them in the best possible way, like in Lightroom and post-production. Funny thing, I'm actually exploring a new editing program, like for my photos. I'm working on some ideas with that editing program and different things, and if I actually go through with that and that editing program, start learning it more, then I'll make a video above about that editing program up here. Back to image quality. I love this camera body because you can print things massive and still retain like the detail, like the pixels. There's enough pixels to print it really large, like I'm talking like 20 by 30 if you want to print like a canvas print that big. I love that this camera body takes enough pixels or megapixels that you can blow up images that big, and it's just so cool. Love that about this camera body. And it also has really fast performance. Like it shoots pretty fast. I've never really had an issue with it not shooting fast enough for what I needed to do. Now that can also depend on your camera lens, which I recommend. If you need to shoot fast, I recommend the Canon EF 50mm aperture 1.2 lens, which we linked right up there. That is a really great lens that I love to use on this camera body. Number 11 is how to check the shutter count. So I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm going to make a separate video about how to check the shutter count for the Canon 5D Mark IV. When I do, it's going to be linked above, and it's going to be in the description of this video because I need to remember again about how to actually check the shutter count of this, camera body. But it's really important because you need to know the shutter count so that you know how many more times the shutter is going to work before it dies on you, basically. I've heard that the shutter count life of the Canon 5D Mark IV is 150,000 actuations. That's what it says on Google. So you need to just watch your shutter count to see, to make sure if it's starting to get close to that. You might need to think about getting a new camera, upgrading or something like that, because you don't want it to die when you're to shoot. But I always recommend, because of this shutter count issue when it gets older, I always recommend that you have a backup camera body with you at every session, at every wedding, so that if something were to happen to the camera body, you would still have another camera to continue taking photos on. So again, when that shutter count video is done, once I filmed that and made that, I will put that on my channel and link that so that you can easily go and watch that short video to learn how to check the shutter count on your Canon 5D Mark IV. All right, number 12 is how to adjust the white balance on the Canon Canon 5D Mark IV. So I've actually made another video on this as well, because it's just one of those things where how to videos, it's just easier. So that video is linked up there, and it's also gonna be in the description. So if you need to check to see how do I adjust the custom white balance on my, on this camera body, then I have a video showing you exactly how to do that. Like I film like the screen, I show you exactly how to do it, so you'll know exactly how to do it. It'll be super easy. Number 13 is what is my favorite thing about the Canon 5D Mark IV? What is my favorite thing about the Canon 5D Mark IV? This is actually a very interesting question because I wrote it down, but sometimes I'm like, what is my favorite thing? I think my favorite thing about the Canon 5D Mark IV is the high megapixel count, 30.4, because again, it allows you to just blow up images really, really big as canvas wall art, and I've done that in the past for some like bridal shows and things. That's definitely the one pro of the camera body. I also have a Canon R6 Mark II, and when I got that second camera body, I didn't like that the megapixel count isn't as much as this camera. That's like the one thing about the camera that I don't really like. The Canon R6 Mark II has like better autofocus and different things. It has different things, and I'm going to talk about that in the next video actually, so I don't want to get too crazy into that. But that's the one thing about the Canon 5D Mark IV that I like, is that the megapixel count is really good. And fun fact, the Canon R5 full frame mirrorless camera body has a megapixel count of like 45, which is crazy. And someday when I test out that camera, I'm going to make a review video of the Canon R5, and that's going to be up here. What are my overall thoughts on the Canon 5D Mark IV? So I guess I will just put up a few photos that I've taken on this camera body just to show you, like, kind of the images it can take and all that fun stuff. But my overall thoughts are that I really like this camera body. The only thing is that it is getting old. It's kind of heavy to hold. There are other camera bodies that are lighter, and so I do like that, other camera bodies are lighter. Really, the big thing I love about the camera body is that the high megapixel count for the cost. Like, that is really great, in my opinion. But again, the weight, it gets kind of heavy, and I also don't like that it only has one SD card slot holder and one CF card slot holder. I'd rather it have two SD card slot holders. But that's just how it is made, and so it's okay. Like, when I got this camera, it basically became my child, and I love it so much, and it's been with me through a lot. And if I ever have to get rid of it someday or sell it, I'm gonna be really sad, and I don't know if I can. I'm probably just gonna use it until it dies, because it's just been that special camera body that I love a lot. So number 15 is the Canon 5D Mark IV versus the Canon R6 Mark II. Basically, which one should I buy? So this is actually definitely like comparing these two camera bodies, which I'm actually going to do in another video, which is going to be comparing the Canon 5D Mark IV and the Canon R6 Mark II. But to give you a brief summary of which one would I buy now, I'd probably buy the Canon R6 Mark II because you can get it on Canon for like basically $2,000 right now, and it's just a better camera in general. It's lighter, has two SD card slots, and has more advanced autofocus capabilities. The only downside is that the megapixel count of the Canon R6 Mark II is 24.2, which is about 6 megapixels lower than the Canon 5D Mark IV. That's the only downside to the Canon R6 Mark II. Actually, there is one other downside, but if you want to know that, you'll have to watch the next video, because I made a honest review video of the Canon R6 Mark II, where I go through a bunch of tech specs of that camera body, as well as all the pros and cons of the camera body, what it's good for, what I use it for, all those special things. So if you're interested in seeing more about the R6 Mark II camera body, then I would go check out that video next.